to hear me if I don't use it. My voice is too small. This is going to be Furry Business Basics. This is a very general, broad overview of business in the furry fandom. We're not going to go too deep into anything specific. Like, this is not a fursuit making panel. This is not how to make art panel. This is just how do you do business in furry. There is going to be a slight emphasis on like visual art because I have more personal experience with that, but you can apply all the business concepts to any business in furry, no matter what you're making. So I just wanted to get that out of the way so everybody kind of knows what to expect, and hopefully it's working. So to begin, I wanted to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Aoki Kitty. My pronouns are she, her. I've been in the furry fandom since about 2016-ish. The reality is we're all furries and we just figure out that we're furries, but I've officially been in the furry fandom since then. I've been taking commissions online since about like 2011-ish, and then doing fursuit commissions for a couple years. Made several different fursuits over the years, 20-something, 30-something, so I have a bit of experience in this space. I also have a business degree, so I did study capitalism, and I hope to teach you how to use it for good. Please use it for good. I believe we can do it. So that's just a little bit about me, to kind of get that out of the way. But as a general overview, we're going to look at some business terms. We're going to look at the furry fandom specifically compared to some other fandoms, and then we're going to look at like how to actually apply business to furry itself and to do the thing, essentially. So, of course the mouse slipped. Okay, we're just going to do this. Yay, it worked. What is a business? I know this seems like really probably simple. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. A business is a legal entity created for commerce. So you can have a business that's like an LLC, that's a limited liability company. That's something that's usually a little bit smaller, it can be bigger. Or you have something really big like a corporation. If any of you are looking to make a business, it's probably going to be a sole proprietorship or an LLC. We're not going to get into like how to actually register those because the rules for those kind of differ depending on where you are. But that's just kind of the general idea. A business is a thing that is not you. Next one, branding is like the character of a business. Now, people will use the terms branding and marketing sometimes interchangeably. They're not the same thing. So branding is more like a personality. If any of you have been to the dealer's den and you've seen like the really big, awesome booth, like How Out has an awesome booth, the branding of that booth is very much toward like streetwear, really cool tech wear and stuff like that. That's the branding of the business. Now, how you market the business is how you present that character. So there's like a slight difference between those. It's good to know the specifics of those. The niche is basically like the specific branch that the branding of your business appeals to. So all of you, presumably, if you have businesses, will appeal to the furry niche. And you might have like a little smaller niche within that, and we'll get into that later. The target market, specifically the people within that niche. So again, kind of similar, but the target market is speaking more about the persons that you're appealing to. So if someone's really into like Japanese culture and you have a kawaii focused business, they're going to be part of your target market. That makes sense. And then we already did the marketing. Fantastic. So the furry fandom's uniqueness. If any of you have been to other conventions, if you've been to anime conventions or comic conventions, you've probably seen a lot of fan work. They have a lot of stuff with like manga, you'll see things like Naruto or more newer things like Demon Slayer, stuff like that. Or if you're going to comic conventions, you're going to see DC, Marvel, a lot of Star Wars at comic conventions, honestly. Different places you can see all of that stuff. Those are like fan art heavy conventions typically. You can absolutely make things that aren't fan art sell there. Usually it's things sort of more focused toward the culture. So like with the anime convention, you might see stuff that's themed after Japanese food, for example. But by and large, within those spaces, you're going to see mostly fan art. Now, fan art can be a little bit tricky because it technically belongs to someone else. That is their intellectual property. Some companies and individuals are more okay with fan art. Some of them actually encourage it. And others, like Disney or Nintendo, tend to be very strict. So it's kind of up to you if you want to make fan art. If you look at these, yeah, I just grabbed some examples from different artists of their booths, specifically like using conventions as basically like a microcosm of how fandom works in general. You can see like the different fan art. They have like Isabel from Animal Crossing, and then they have like Baldur's Gate 3 characters here. So there's like again, fan art. Not a lot of like original stuff, which again, not bad. It's just something to notice. So to compare furry to that, furry isn't based off of a specific IP. It's not based off of a specific property. It's based off a concept. What if animals were more like us? Whether that's like they're just walking around talking like the Lion King, or if they're like fully upright, wearing clothes like Beatrix Potter or something like that. Because of that, you don't really have to make fan art to sell and make a living in the furry fandom. Again, it's absolutely an option. If you've been to the dealer's den, you've probably seen some interesting doggies or other stuff. Fan art that's available for purchase. But it's not a necessity, unlike some other fandoms where it's like, again, really fandom heavy, or really fan art heavy. So that's an interesting thing about furry, because with not having to make fan art, you don't have to worry about any like chance of legal issues. It might not necessarily be common to have legal issues with fan art. I don't make it, so I can't tell you firsthand if you're like more likely to get a cease and desist or not. I'm also not a lawyer, so I can't tell you the specifics of like ins and outs of that, but I can tell you, you can't trademark a wolf. You can make furry art pretty easily and again, make a living off of it. So here are some different furry booths that I just pulled as a comparison. This is Cosmo Cosplay, who's actually my friend. She's dealing in the den right now. And then RGB art. They have a tiny bit of fan art. Like I think Cosmo has like a xenomorph keychain, and RGB might have some fan art, but it is primarily original work, and they do very well. I mentioned Hal earlier. I'm pretty sure all of his stuff is original. It's really awesome. You have a huge booth. It's fantastic to see artists thriving in the community. So again, these are just like examples. You can get by and do like really well in the furry fandom making general furry stuff. So applying business concepts to furry, we're gonna look at how to actually build a furry business a little bit, sort of. Building a business is a little bit too complicated to go, again, deep into, but we're gonna look at like broad strokes. We're taking a bird's eye view. We're all avians today. We're also gonna look at marketing, just kind of some general marketing stuff, ethics, because ethics is very important, and then just some like common problems that I've seen in the furry fandom that actually inspired this panel. So, how to build a business. Sort of. Whenever you're starting a business, like especially if you take a business course or a class in like university or something, you will start with a business plan. It is a plan for your business. I know it's shocking. But it's basically lining up everything that you're going to do with the business and how you're going to do it. It's kind of like an outline if you're writing an essay in school that you like have to have a plan to build off of. It typically has a few core parts. Now, you can absolutely like mix and match and add and take away, but it typically always has these. A mission statement is like, here's what I want to do. Now, the mission statement itself, it's kind of hard to describe, so you usually need an example. It's not like, I want to sell stuff. It is good to sell stuff, and it's good to want to sell stuff, but a mission statement is a little more like, almost aspirational. So whenever I took an entrepreneurship class and I did my mission statement, I think I did something like, I want to help people express themselves through art and through custom costumes, because I do fursuits as well. So that was my mission statement. It's more so like, how are you helping people? What are you offering to people? Because business is supposed to be, I hate the way that corporations do business, but it's supposed to be like an offering to people. It's supposed to be helping them. This is something that you can have that might help you. The core competency is kind of like, here's what I'm best at. So if you're really good at drawing a specific species. That might be your core competency. If you're really good with a particular material, that might be your core competency. Some people are really skilled with watercolor. I have never been good at watercolor. If you are, you have my respect. It is so difficult to work with. But like if you do crochet, that might be your core competency. Or again, something with species or like a specific aesthetic even could be something that you lean into for your specific business. Your niche, again, it's kind of what you focus on. It's like an area of business that you focus on. Again, the furry niche would probably apply to most, if not all of you. I'm just assuming here because we're all at a furry convention, but you might also work within an anime space, comic space, horror even, because there are conventions with that and fandom related to that. So it kind of depends on the individual. A business strategy is, again, a part of the business plan. It's more how you're going to do things. So if you aspire to have like a storefront, you would want to strategize how to get a storefront. If you want to sell online, you would want to strategize how do I sell online, so on and so forth. It is very much like this is the step-by-step process I'm going to take to actually get my business up and running how I want it. And you would typically have timelines. You don't have to do strict timelines, but it's good to have a general idea. Again, like research, very good. There's so many resources on the internet, and I will provide some resources that I've found very helpful personally at the end. All of this leads into marketing. Marketing, again, is like presenting your business, so it all has to flow together, and we're gonna look at that a little bit more as we move on. Marketing, wow. It already came up. Aspects of marketing. I made these up. I did not pull from a specific book. I think marketing is very misunderstood in some ways. A lot of people, again, corporations, use it kind of manipulatively times. You've probably seen like kind of manipulative advertisements that kind of make you feel gross. It's very bad. I don't like it. So whenever you're doing marketing for yourself, because it is very important, the first thing you start with, I would say, is candor. I did little 5 C's because I wanted to be catchy. Please be honest about what you're presenting. And that goes both ways. It's not just like, don't say that your stuff cures diseases when it doesn't. It's more like, also, you want to be honest about how nice it is. Like, you've worked really hard on this. Your stuff is beautiful. You deserve to be able to present it to everyone and hopefully make lots of money and have a good life based off of it. Like, I hope that for all of you. So be honest about your work. Price yourself accordingly. Price yourself accordingly, seriously. So many artists underprice themselves. The second one is character. What is your brand? What do you want your brand to be? I have picked, I'm not wearing a pink shirt today, which means I've already failed, oh no. But I usually do like pastel pink and black. I think it's very cute. I have my little heart belt. I like heart motifs. I kind of keep it all themed. You might have a different character for your business. You might think that like a vaporwave is really awesome and you want to have a vaporwave business. So all of your colors work into that and all of your branding works into that, and then again your marketing would fit with that. So you want everything to kind of work together and think about what you like. What are you passionate about? What gets you excited? What parts of your art really stick out and you want to play into that for marketing it? Like seriously, go through these and think about it and make your stuff. It's so cool to see all the diverse ideas that people have, especially in this fandom. I have such a passion for it. Coherency, what makes sense for your brand? This kind of relates to the character of the brand. So to go back to that example, if you had a vaporwave themed business, like aesthetic for the business, you probably wouldn't start doing lace and polka dots. You maybe could if you put a specific bent on it or had it for like a specific little extra theme thing, but it's very good to keep it like consistent with the character. You want it to make sense, and that's where consistency fits in. You want it to stay consistent both in terms of the theme and in terms of how you actually present the theme. So it goes even down to like specifically when you're marketing maybe online, you want to use similar fonts. You don't want to use like, you might not use these, but like Ariel on one post and then Comic Sans on the next one. Maybe for an April Fool's thing, but as a general rule of thumb, you're gonna wanna have like consistent marketing because you want to build like this concept of brand recognition, that you see these colors, these motifs, these fonts together, and people will think, okay, that's their business, whatever it is. And then charisma. Be enthusiastic, be excited, get pumped about this. This is so cool. You get to make art and share it with people, and then they give you their monies, and then you can go buy food, and everybody's happy. Yay! It's fantastic. I love furries. Marketing again. Your general target market, as I think I've said like 3 times now, is probably going to be furry. It will probably involve furry. You might be an exception, it's totally fine. You might include that and other things. But beyond just furry, what are some other target market and niches that you could go for? You could base it off of age. Maybe you're part of a specific generation that you want to appeal to. Totally cool. You could base it off of like even specific nostalgic stuff. Like if you grew up with the Lion King stuff, like kind of 90s kid stuff, you could absolutely make like a 90s kid themed business. Go for it. You could do genre, fantasy, sci-fi. I have a friend who has like kind of more edgy horror themed art, and that's her niche. Like we were staying together at a convention once, she was like, I have all of the werewolf furries. They're all mine. They all buy my stickers every time and they become my regulars. It's great. You can go for specific species. Some people just have a shop about one thing. There is a shop that I saw, it is just corgis. They just like corgis, and they make them and they sell them and they're happy and it's great. So if you like a specific species, go for it. Make a species themed business. You could do specific, I just had these as values, like LGBT, you could do QIA+, I did that for space, or Black, Indigenous, people of color communities. If you want to appeal to those communities, you can absolutely make that sort of thing. A lot of stuff you'll see, like in the dealer's den, they'll have like different pride flags and such. I will say, please do not appropriate anyone's culture. If you are a part of the culture, you can absolutely make things, but be sensitive. And I would say, like, be careful. Like, treat minorities with respect, treat other people with respect. I just wanted to include it because I think it's very important. There are some Native and Indigenous artists in the dealer's den that I think are really fantastic. The person who runs Weighted Wildlife, Roman Bison, and again, Hal Out, absolutely fantastic artists. And again, they are Indigenous. Tons of respect for them, tons of love for them. I think it's worth saying, because so many people who are part of these marginalized communities don't really feel welcome sometimes. And I think it's important for them to have a space to really express themselves. And if you want to play into that and you want to be like, this is me and this is where I come from, this is who I am, go for it. Fully support you. You can do aesthetics. There are so many aesthetics. I didn't know which ones to put here. I just put as many as I could think of. I've seen some booths. Again, I'm using kind of booths as an example because it's a good visual aid. Like cottagecore booths, you could do like vintage, you can do kawaii ones, put gamer there. You could just do a gamer booth. Wouldn't that be fun? And again, it's not limited to these. These are just some examples off the top of my head. If you have specific stuff that you like, go for it. I like hearts, so I did hearts. And I'm gonna keep doing hearts because that makes me happy. And if other things make you happy, do the thing that makes you happy. You can also do specific interests. Some people really like moss. Some people really like paws. I like tails. This could lead into more adult topics. This is not an adult panel, so we're not going to like touch that. It's just relevant to mention there are specific interests within the fandom that you can make money off of if you choose to. That is where I will leave it. Continuing in marketing because it's so complicated. Keeping these previous points in mind, from your business plan, you're going to build what's called your brand package. And that's kind of what we talked about. Oh, sorry, my hand. That's kind of what we talked about with like keeping specific fonts together, using specific colors. That is your brand package. It's almost like a palette. Like if you use a color palette or like a reference sheet for a character, you use these specific things for the character every time. That's kind of what a brand package is like for your business. I have these little notes here. Coherency solidifies character. So if it's all coherent and fits with your brand, it's going to build the character of your brand and kind of help people recognize it, help people remember it, and keep coming back and want to see your stuff. You can create something unique. Again, everybody here in this room is unique. You are all wonderful, unique people, and all of your businesses are going to be unique because of that. Embrace it. That's awesome. And don't be afraid, if you want to rebrand. I started out in the fandom with a very specific brand. I had like a specific name that I picked out. I bought the little online shop URL thing. I'm like, okay, this is my brand. Oh no, I hate it. Okay, because it came time. I was graduated from university. I was ready to actually move into this full time. And I was like, I don't like this. Oh no. I can't hold a regular job. I am far too disabled to do that, quite literally. So like, what do I do? And I decided to take the leap. Like, okay, I'm gonna rebrand. I'm gonna change the name. I'm gonna get a different logo. I'm gonna do it. And I think it was worth it. So if you ever have that kind of hang up, like, oh, I don't really want to change it, or like, everybody knows me by this name, but now I hear it and it makes me want to cringe and walk away into the corner and think about all my life choices, rebrand. You can do that. You'll need to roll it out with the same things in mind, like coherency and consistency and keeping all of that in mind. But like, you can absolutely change it if you want to. You're not stuck and you're not trapped. It's okay. Knowing where and how to reach the target market. Unfortunately, social media is important. Social media is also, I kind of visualize it like a ship on fire sometimes. Like, Twitter was my main social media, and then it got musky. And I won't call it X. He can pay me to call it X, thank you. So, again, social media is kind of important. With the world we live in, most everybody has phones, access to the internet. It's really common, especially for furries, to find each other on the internet. So you'll need to know like where your target demographic or where your target market is. So like for older furries, they might be focused around more like, I think a lot of people have moved to Blue Sky now actually, or like fur affinity, places like that. Whereas younger furries, probably gonna be TikTok, Instagram, places like that. So just keep that in mind, like where are the people that you want to reach? Other places beyond the desolate desert that is social media, conventions and events. You've probably seen, if you've walked around, especially if you've walked to the West End, people will just leave like business cards out and around. You can totally do that. You can just have them out. People will pick them up, people will collect them, people will just grab them to grab them. Sometimes they're like, ooh, it's a pretty color, I'll take it. You can do email newsletters. Email newsletters are right below, in terms of the best marketing things, they're right below word of mouth. Word of mouth is the gold standard. If word of mouth could be used for all marketing, it would be fantastic. But you can't, because that's how word of mouth works. But email newsletters, you are like guaranteed to reach directly to the people that you want to. It is invaluable. With the way that social media algorithms work, and the way that it's so easy to just like ignore stuff, an email newsletter is really helpful because that's someone who's signing up to see your work and wants to see it. Now, of course, they can always unsubscribe, that sort of thing, but it's really helpful to know, like, you're guaranteed to at least have them see it in their inbox. It's very important. Online advertisements are an option. I know the Dealer's Den, like the online furry marketplace, it's like furry eBay, basically, if you haven't used it. They will have different spaces for advertisements if you want to advertise there. Some people advertise their artwork commissions. Some people advertise their other websites. There's spaces like that. You could do local advertisements depending on the type of business you have. I've seen, there was one furry business that was selling at Furality that they make soap. And they have like little paw-shaped soaps. And that's what they make. So they could do like a local advertisement maybe at a craft fair or like a craft shop. I know Joann's sometimes will have like little pin boards that you can actually put your business cards on or little informational sheets. maybe you could do that. It's an option. And another thing would be word of mouth. Word of mouth is great. Word of mouth is basically someone likes your stuff so much that they want to tell someone else about it. It is fantastic, and you can't force it, and you shouldn't try. It is organic, and that's why it's so good, because whatever you've made has left such an impact on someone that they have to share it with other people. So it's kind of why you should be enthusiastic about stuff and share it and get out there, because otherwise people won't know about your stuff, and that's sad. I don't like that. I'm gonna hammer in consistency because you have to do these things consistently. Oh no. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish it was easier. But it is important to be consistent with your business ethics. As you move into ethics as well. I love this shark. He's so important to me. He's so good. We got sued. On the topic of ethics, please don't break the law. Please don't. I know we like to make jokes about doing crime. It is fun to talk about. It's not fun to actually deal with. Also, real quick, are y'all able to see the actual screen, or am I just completely in your way? Are you good? Okay. I wanted to make sure. No, I realized like halfway through, and then, you know, we'd reach the end and you'd be like, well, I'd like to listen to her talk, but I couldn't see anything she was talking about. Great. It is very important as you do your business to do business properly. And that includes doing things properly in the eyes of the law. Please talk to professionals. I am not a tax professional or a legal professional. I cannot give advice on that. The best advice I can give to you is to talk to people who can give you advice. So it is absolutely worth it. Go talk to an accountant. Go talk to a lawyer if you need to. Like, reach out to people and get this help and set it up like from the beginning so that you know what practices to do, so that tax time doesn't come around and then you realize that you're super behind and all of this stuff is happening and you have 2 weeks and oh my gosh, what do I do? It's much better to just kind of build it up properly from the beginning, and it'll be so much easier on you. I promise, it really will. Yes, again, file your taxes, talk to professionals. That's all I legally can say, but it's important to touch on, and I liked this shark. Common pitfalls within business. These are, the actual last one is the one that inspired this entire panel, and I was like, I should talk about that, and then I realized, oh, I have to talk about business in general to get to that, because if I just stand up in front of everybody saying, don't do this, then they won't understand. A very common pitfall within furry, so I'm trying not to mess up the mic, that I've seen within, especially furry commissions, is low communication. If you are on Twitter, you will probably see every couple of weeks there is a call-out post that this person took so long to make the commission and now my money's gone, and that is really awful. And then usually there's a follow-up post like a day or so later, and the person's like, actually I was sick the entire time and my internet went out. Like, these things happen. It's good to tell people that you're working with if there's little hiccups or speed bumps in the road. So if you get sick, or if you have to move, or if you have an emergency, you don't have to give like full details, but it's good to say like, hey, still working on your commission, or if you haven't been able to make any progress yet, you can be like, still have your commission in mind, still like in the queue and everything, I'm going to be working on it, I'm just dealing with this right now, I'm just sending you this note to let you know I haven't forgotten, I'm not running away with your money, that sort of thing. Because especially if you're doing larger commissions for like fursuits or like very big pieces of custom art, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of risk to the person. And I'm certain if you were to spend that much money, you'd like to know what's going on. It's very reasonable. So it's good to just send them a quick note. You can use all sorts of different things. I think I have a slide later to detail what you can actually use to communicate with customers and consumers. People call them consumers in the business world now. Customers is not appropriate anymore, I guess. But clients that you're working with. Long queues are another thing you'll see. This is especially common with fursuit makers, it can be common with different artwork creators. I've heard of queues that are like 18 suits long, and it's several years wait. That's really not good. If you can avoid it, please do. And that leads into what I call the pit. This is my own little word for it. I don't really know what else to call it. And to understand it, you need to understand there's this concept within business called free on board. Why is it called free on board? I don't know. Some old white men probably named it that. That seems to be how business works. The important thing to understand about it is that there's two different kinds of free on board. There's origin and destination. And what this means is, if a product is free on board origin, as soon as that product is shipped, it belongs to who it's being shipped to. They are legally responsible for it. If it gets lost in transit, then it's their responsibility. Like, as soon as this company that's selling the product ships it out, like, that's on you. If it's free on board destination, that company is still legally responsible for it until it reaches the actual customer. So what I've done with this concept is I've made it so I don't take any money from a commission, like with a small caveat, until that commission is delivered. That will protect you whenever you're doing business so that you don't have issues with the pit. Pit itself happens a lot, again, fursuit makers, artists, people in the fandom, where maybe you'll take a commission and you'll do it, or you'll do part of it and be working on it, and then an emergency happens, and you need the money right now. Or you see something you like and you need the money right now, so you use the money, and then maybe there's a chargeback, or there's an issue, or there's another emergency. So you're kind of in the pit some more, so you kind of have to pull from other commissions that you've been paid for. And then you get some more commissions, so it's kind of paying yourself back for the previous work, and then it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs, and then eventually you're doing work essentially for free because you've already used the money that you earned previously, and it's this whole big mess, and it's very dangerous. It's not good to get caught in. I understand there are certain situations where people don't have the opportunity to, some people might say, get the leg up. They might not have the opportunity to save because of the situation they're in, because of how they're living, where they're stuck living right now. That is totally understandable. I'm talking about, as much as you can, avoid this. And there are ways to avoid it. We'll talk about it. But I would say it's very important because I've seen so many artists struggle with this, where they take commissions and they have these big queues and then they use the money, and then there's people waiting and they feel pressured, and then their pet gets sick. And they have to open emergency extra commissions for like a 3-day turnaround, or can you please donate money because my cat is sick, please help. It's so stressful and awful to see, and there are ways to avoid it. Please try to avoid it. Sales. This is the fun part. It's so fun to make money. What are some things you can make to actually sell? These are just some general examples. Again, this is kind of visual art focused. I don't know if everybody here is visual artists or if you're just kind of thinking in general. We're just going to go over these quickly because I wanted to give ideas for people who had not even thought about what they could make for furry stuff. There are some low-cost options for if you're making artwork. Stickers, prints, postcards, or washi tape are usually pretty cheap to get manufactured, especially if you're doing just a few different designs. Mid-cost would be keychains and charms. Usually they're acrylic, sometimes they're wood. Depends on the actual manufacturer that you work with. Higher cost items are going to be more like enamel pins or backpacks. Anything custom is usually going to be pretty expensive to get made. And then if things are especially expensive, like an Eda bag or something like that, you can use things like a Kickstarter. You can take pre-orders, which can help kind of fund the process or fund the actual project as you're making it. And people will say, yes, I want this, here's some money, I will buy it. And that kind of helps you where you don't have to have all of this capital from the beginning and risk all of your money, which is also very scary. Some less common items that I haven't seen a lot of within furry, like cups, socks. I think I saw a few socks in the dealer's den. I haven't made it all the way around because Anthrocon is super duper busy. There's so much to do. But there's other things you could get made, maybe card decks. If you want to do playing cards, furry playing cards, that would be cool. Other things you can make, like whatever you can think of, you can make a furry version of it. And it's fun to have some original stuff. There's usually a lot of stickers. It's fun to have stickers. It's fun to have other stuff as well. In terms of fursuits, if you want to make fursuits, you can do commissions. It is a little more labor intensive usually to do commissions. You need to work directly with the client, make sure you get everything right, and like, is this spot in the right place? Yes, it is. Great. If you want to do something that's a little less time intensive and almost maybe difficult if you see it that way, you could do pre-mades. Pre-mades are basically you just take a design that you make or design that you get from another artist and you just make it into a fursuit. They're very fun. I usually sell pre-mades at Anthrocon just because they're nice to make and it's really nice to make a little bit of money going to conventions. It's very encouraging. If you'd like to do pre-mades, they're very easy to get into, I'd say. And again, less pressure than doing commissions. You can also just do fursuit parts. So if you really like making paws, there are people who just make paws. The Paw Bakery on Instagram. They just make paws, and it's great, and they're so fluffy and cute. I think they might even use a Kloof Suits pattern, so you might not even have to make your own pattern for paws. You can just buy a pattern and then make them for people, because with specialized items like furry things, tails, ears especially, paws, they're so difficult to make. Some people would rather just pay for them. I'm one of those people. I bought these ears. I did not make them. I looked at the realistic ears and I thought, no, I will give them money. So I gave someone money and I got my ears and I'm very pleased with it. Other things that you can make, because I don't want to forget other types of art or other types of business. Photography. You can absolutely have a photography-focused business within furry. Furries love having their picture taken. If you've seen a camera around the convention, you've probably seen like fursuiters basically flocking to it or posing for it. It's so fun to see. You can absolutely do photography. You can do music. There's a lot of furry musicians, especially up and coming. If you go to the dances at night, you'll probably see some furry specific musicians. There are people that release like full albums of music that's made by furries. I know the All My Fellas song was made by a furry. If you've heard that, like that's furry music technically. Kinda cool. You can absolutely be a furry musician. You can also make things like plushes. I have a friend, the Cuddle Kitchen, I think is her store. She just makes plush. She makes cute like little props and stuff. She makes like little bamboo shoots and slices of pizza. And that's what she does. That's her whole business. She's gonna be at Megaplex this year if you want to see her stuff and buy from her. There's also other things you can make. Again, there's so many examples of things that you can make and do. I could not possibly fit them even on multiple slides. Whatever you want to do, whatever you like doing, make it furry. How do you do sales? There are different ways to do sales. Again, one of the most common ways to do it is online, typically through places like Etsy or other marketplaces. Some people use the dealer's den if you're selling things like artwork commissions or suits. You can also use your own website. It depends on like what your budget is starting out, what you're trying to do. Some people just take commissions, like freelance on Instagram. So like you just post your work on Instagram and you take commissions for it, and that's what you do. And that works for them. You can also do things in person. So conventions, again, Artist Alley, Dealer's Den. Some conventions have an art show. Anthrocon is an art show. You can actually sell through consignment. So you don't have to stay at a table all day. You can just enter stuff in the art show and have it up for bid, and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but you have a chance of selling stuff without having to stay put, and it's a good way, I think, to kind of get your foot in the door of selling at conventions if you've never done it before. And then, of course, kind of moving into the Artist Alley if you want to do that, a smaller booth, and then moving up into the Dealer's Den once you get more experience under your belt. Another good thing I would say is contracts. Contracts are very helpful. You don't have to use a contract for every transaction you do, but if you're doing big ticket items, again, I use contracts for fursuits. It is so helpful. You can get everything laid out, all of the expectations, payment plans, timelines of the payment plans, when different payments are due, how things are going to be shipped. Everything is laid out in the contract. You both sign it, and it's wonderful. It is at least like a written agreement. If there's any trouble, you can present that as like, this is proof of our agreement. I will say, within the United States, I don't know international law, if anyone here is international. Within the United States, minors are not bound by contract. So even if you made a contract with a minor to, like, in this example, make a fursuit, they could agree to it, sign it, you deliver the fursuit, and they don't pay, and they're not bound to the contract. You need to work with adults if you're going to use a contract. Now, you can work with someone's parent or legal guardian, that's an option. It's just, that's an important caveat. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, I used a contract and it's fine, and now I'm out $5,000, okay. I don't want that to happen to anybody. Another thing that's important, pricing. Pricing is difficult. A lot of artists struggle with pricing. I have struggled with pricing for years. There's different ways to do it. There's no like set one answer, unfortunately. I wish there was. You can do it by the hour. Of course, if you do it by the hour, then you have the question of like, if it takes me extra long, do I pay myself more? Do I pay myself the same amount? You kind of have to weigh that. You can also just do it like as a flat rate. So like you pay yourself so much money for making a tail, and then you do that. And the flip side of that is if it takes you less time, or you're getting paid more versus more work, it's all this different stuff. You kind of have to weigh it. Another way to do it is a formula. Soatalk, I think is how you pronounce it. I will have a link to his formula at the end of this, and you guys can take a picture and everything, and I can figure out a way to share these slides as well if you want them. He made a formula. It is so helpful. It has a built-in way to adjust prices until you kind of find the sweet spot of if you can bring prices up, bring prices down, and find where like the price matches the amount of demand you have for that item. I think it's brilliant, which is why I just sourced him and didn't try to do it myself. Like, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. It's an excellent resource, and I'll have it for you all. Taking payment. Probably used this before, seen these. PayPal is an option, Square. Some people use Zelle. Some people use Venmo for payments. Whenever I'm selling at conventions, have a little Square reader. You can actually get one for free. You just have to have a certain connector. It links with like an audio jack, which of course is gone now because why would we need those? So you can get like a little adapter that goes into, I have one for my iPad, and it's like $15, $25, somewhere around that range. But that's an option if you're trying to sell in person and don't want to just take cash, because a lot of people travel with card instead of cash now. You can also do checks or money orders. I've seen those a little bit, typically for larger items. It's an option on the dealer's den, so I wanted to include it just to let you guys know like that's an option. And then there's also like cash card in person, again. Sometimes you just use dollar bills, and that's fine. A lot of it depends on where you're actually selling. So if you're selling online, you're probably gonna use online payments. If you're selling in person, you're probably gonna use either card or cash. We're continuing with sales. Again, I'm sorry, it's so complicated. Communication. Gonna reiterate, very important. You can use emails to talk to clients. You can use DMs, messaging. If you talk to them on a specific website or social media, you can just use those DMs if you'd like. Lots of people like to use Telegram. I like to use Discord. Whenever I'm starting a fursuit commission, I actually do a Discord call and I live stream the concept art that I've made and edit it in live time with the client's input until we're agreed on the design for the fursuit. And then from that meeting, I finalize the price, because sometimes people will be like, oh, actually, I wanted to add this on to my reference sheet, or oh, actually, this is outdated. And then from that price, I present them with the like estimate of how much the commission will be, and then they can choose to move forward. If you guys want me to go through the whole commission process, I can at the end. I'd just rather get through the whole slides first, and I can explain in more detail later. You can also use things like Trello if you don't want to talk to people like directly all the time. It can take a lot of time sometimes. Trello is basically, I don't know how to describe it. I think it's supposed to be for managing projects, but you can use it for commissions. So you have like these different columns, if you can visualize it. I didn't have a picture on here. You have different columns, and it's like different little blocks within the columns. So you can have like a column that's in the queue, and then a column that's in progress, and the column that's finished, and probably like a column that's like an example column if you wanted to. And as you work on the commission, you move it, the little block, click and drag through the process. So like you get a sketch done, the sketch, and the work in progress column, and then it's finished, and then it's like an example of finished work. It's an option. Lots of people do that for things like maybe a your character here slot, if you've ever seen those, like kind of bulk commissions almost. They're not so specialized as something that you're sketching and doing a little line art for individually. It's more like, okay, I'm gonna put the colors in, do a little edit, and there you go. Budgeting. It's an important part of sales. Sales are not guaranteed, especially as we face things like kind of a recession in this country. Things are a little bit scary right now for businesses, and especially small businesses. It's important to budget. I would recommend having an emergency fund. I would recommend having an emergency fund regardless, like just for living, because emergencies happen and it's better to plan for them. Aside from emergency funds for living, like you'll hear a ballpark estimate is like a couple months worth of rent, utilities, other costs of living. I'd say $500 to $1,000 depending on the size of your business, like at least a couple hundred as a buffer. And especially if you're trying to move into working like in person, you'll want to have it for covering table fees, because you'll usually have to pay for the table, and if you're traveling into a hotel, food, gas, or other travel costs, things like that. You'll need to have a budget for that as well. Self-care is also very important. I would say it's essential. People come first. Your health comes first. If you are doing art and you have hurt yourself, if you are able, again, I understand some people, like you have to work because you have no other choice. If you have a choice and you can, in any capacity, care for yourself. Take breaks, stretch, be careful. I wear these compression gloves because I have a specific genetic disorder that my bones move out of place. So I have to be extra careful of using my hands. If you have anything with your body or even with mental health, this also counts. Take breaks for yourself. Make space for yourself. It's very important. Without you, none of this art or business would exist. Like, you are essential. You are the most essential part of it, I would say. So again, take care of yourself. So many artists just kind of let themselves fall by the wayside, and it's so sad because, again, they're the source of all of this. You need to take care of you and pace yourself. Like, don't take on 50 commissions in a weekend, please. Please be careful. So moving forward, what do I do now? Keep in mind that business is challenging. It's okay to feel kind of overwhelmed sometimes. Take regular breaks. Again, I just think it's super important. As someone who does not usually let herself take breaks and is learning the importance of breaks, oh boy, it's a big lesson to learn. Another thing is to plan reasonably. If you're trying to plan to do like maybe a big shop update, give yourself time to design the products, order them, have them arrive wrong, and then you have to fix it and contact the manufacturer, and it's a nightmare. Give yourself time for that, because otherwise you might be like down to the wire and your keychains haven't arrived, or they arrived and they're the wrong color, or they're only one side, and now you want to lie down in a fetal position. Like, don't do that to yourself if you can avoid it. Stay consistent. Again, I have an upload schedule for like YouTube shorts and different things. I'm trying to do more online marketing. There are some scheduling things you can do for marketing. I think there's different software. I haven't looked into them, so I can't really recommend any yet. I wouldn't want to recommend anything I haven't used and lead you astray, basically. Sorry, one second. Sorry, bones. They move. It's staying consistent is important. Like if you're doing an email newsletter, you want to have that pretty consistent. If you're doing just Instagram posts, you want to have that consistent. And if you're going to conventions, maybe try to keep that consistent too. Like doing artist alley, doing dealer's den, all of these different things that you can do. Know it's okay, again, to stop or pivot. If you decide that having a business isn't for you, that's okay. There's no pressure. Again, you're not trapped. You can also change it if you want to. Again, I changed it. I'm happier with it. Maybe you need to change something, or maybe you're completely happy with it. That's fantastic. Do what works for you. Build a support network. Networking is invaluable. If you want to get into working in the furry space more seriously, like if you see people in the dealer's den that they kind of look friendly and preferably aren't busy, like don't interrupt any sales, go talk to people. They're really friendly. It's so easy to meet furries, talk to furries, make friends, and build a support network. Get into Discord servers, Telegram chats, start networking and working with other people. Like I was able to get a space in the Megaplex hotel to stay to go and sell this year because I met someone last year who knew a friend of mine who can also vouch for me, who knows other friends who are going to Megaplex who I'm staying with. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't talked to the person last year. So seriously, networking is really important. And furry is basically a big community, so it's a lot easier here than just out in the big scary world where nobody has tails. Keep learning. You have time, no matter what age you are, no matter what stage you are in working on art, you have time. You can do this. I believe in you. And I hope you do really well, because I love seeing artists thrive. Keep learning about things. Keep researching. YouTube, Google, if the AI thing doesn't destroy it. Usually has some good resources. There's so much stuff you can find now. Even just a few years ago, it was so hard to learn like how to make a fursuit, how to make art. It's so much easier, and it's so wonderful to see that like you have a leg up now. Like you're starting from such a higher level than people who have like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, 2 years ago. Like it's wonderful what you can find now. And enjoy yourself. Like this is awesome. You get to make art and sell it and go talk to awesome, funky people who like animals too. It's so cool. I'm so proud of you all, actually. It's awesome. I just had her here. This is my little persona, Grace. She's very tired. This business is challenging. Final thoughts. If you want to find me anywhere, follow me, talk to me, I am totally happy to talk to you and answer as many questions as we can. I'll check the time here in a second because I wanted to get through this first. I have Mini Meow Shop. That is my business now. MiniMeow.shop is my website. If you want to email me, it's info@minimeow.shop. And then Telegram is Alki Kitty, which I can write down and have like up here. I also have business cards if you want my link tree. I have them on the back of them. I only have a few, so we'll have to like take pictures. So that's how to find me. Again, the pink and the black has been so fun. I love it. Other things that are very important, helpful resources, shout-outs. If you're trying to start a small art business, especially if you're trying to sell in person or online, Molcana, Fructus Illustrations, and Kelsey Rodriguez on YouTube, absolutely fantastic resources. Molcana does convention vlogs. She's mostly an anime-focused artist, or kawaii-focused artist, but it's so fantastic. She goes through like budgeting, planning, how different conventions work, how she does her different setups and such, what sells, what doesn't sell. Fructus Illustrations will go through like setting up different shop updates and things like that, running a business from home more like an Etsy shop or something like that. Kelsey Rodriguez has a lot of recommendations on like different things you can make as an artist, budgeting as an artist, basically like a secondary source of income, things that you don't have to actively have to make to sell, so like digital products, things that will bring income without having to actively work on them, like you make it, set it up, post it for sale, and then people can just buy it and download it, which can be a great way to supplement, like if you're doing commissions, that kind of more intense work, and kind of keep yourself at a good level of income. Pricing your work, the soatalk.blog. I had it hyperlinked here. Again, I can give you guys the slides if you want. It's an absolutely fantastic resource. Finding conventions to sell at, furrycons.com. You can also find like the little things just laying around, different convention papers and things like that. It's very helpful. You can also learn about word of mouth, and it doesn't have to be only furry conventions, it's just we're at a furry convention, so I thought I'd suggest furry conventions. Finding merch manufacturers, a lot of people use Alibaba. You're gonna be talking more directly to the sellers there, so if that's a little bit scary, You can use things like Bow Grace or Juno Creative to make different keychains and standees and stuff. I think they have like little standees that like bounce now, which is very fun. You can have like a little effect, like maybe a wagging tail on a little dog or something. That would be cute. You can also get stickers made. I use Sticker App. Wild Prints is a furry run business, so if you want to keep it like in the furry fandom supporting other artists, that's an option. I'm certain there's other ones. These are just ones that like I've heard of or I've worked with and I've heard good things about, and I wanted to share. These are citations because, again, business major, and I was taught to cite all my sources. So here's all the sources. I didn't steal, I promise. And thank you. This wouldn't be a panel without you all. It would just be me like screaming into the void, which would be kind of funny to watch, but also concerning. So thank you for attending. I don't know what time it is. 2 o'clock. There we go. Perfect timing. Awesome. If anyone wants to talk to me, I will probably like clear out so the next panel can come in. Thank you so much again. This was fantastic. I hope you have a great rest of your con. Thank you. Thank you.